The medieval chamber was stunning. A round space with glorious marble floors and stone walls. Around its curved edges were large tapestries and paintings from about the 14th century. I glanced upwards to the roof that was covered in a stained glass dome at least 50 metres above my head. I span around in search of an exit, but there were 6 different arches that could have led me even further into this labyrinth. I took in a deep breath and decided I would have to make a choice about which doorway to take. But just as I was about to choose my route, I suddenly noticed a thudding sound that began to vibrate across the coloured rooftop up above. I squinted through the sunlight. I could just about make out the shadow of something darting quickly across the surface of the glass. My heart started to race. But why would someone be climbing over such an old roof in the first place? It could break at any moment. Whoever it was stopped in the middle and then started to jump up and down repeatedly on one of the glass panes. Each time the mystery figure crashed down once again, the window cracked and split some more. Everything went quiet for a second. Then with one final stamp, the fragile glass broke, and whatever it was fell straight through. I stumbled back out of this thing's path as it spiralled and plummeted down to the marble gallery floor. I remember thinking that whoever had just performed such a stupid stunt would have been seriously injured without a doubt. Judging by the size of the fall and the shattered stone crater on the floor, it should have been dead. But to my amazement, the odd-looking character slowly got to its feet. It was then I finally saw this thing wasn't actually a person at all. The weird and hunchback creature struggled awkwardly to flip up off its back. Using its enormous hands as front legs, the strange being steadied itself and shook the dust from its scaly, pale green skin. The beast focused on me with its blood-red eyes and sniffed the air twice with its pig-like snout. The creature seemed to be picking up my scent, and when it eventually found the smell it was looking for, it began to hiss violently in my direction. I was caught off guard. I'd never expected a strange wild animal to fall from the sky, and now it was staring at me as if I was its next lunch. The monster slowly pounded forward and lapped up the dribble that was dripping from its lips. The beast leant back, ready to strike, and with a grisly growl it lunged straight for me. It sounds pathetic now, but at the time all I could do was stand there helplessly with my eyes closed and hope the end would be quick and painless. But just as the creature pounced, it suddenly froze in mid-air and was weirdly suspended by a mysterious sharp object that had pierced through its back. I only plucked up the courage to open my eyes slightly, but could see the tip of the sword that had shot out through the front of its chest. The monster squirmed around in disbelief for a few seconds and then gargled with pain. It gave out a final yelp before, without warning, it exploded into a spray of black slime. I finally opened my eyes fully to see Mr. Eisenbar standing there and holding a spectacular silver sword. In Sir's other hand he clutched the material of his umbrella. I glanced back to the handle of his blade, which looked exactly like the one on his brolly. I quickly realised that his umbrella had been secretly disguising a magnificent sword all this time. But why the heck did my teacher have his own sword? What was even stranger was that he seemed to be an expert in using it too. "Sir?" I said with an oddly squeaky voice. "I sensed they were coming," Eisenbar ranted, as he threw the umbrella cover on the ground and turned his head frantically from side to side. He seemed to be looking out for other dangers that might come our way. "I thought I told you to stay close." I'm sorry, sir," I stuttered. It was very rare for Mr. Eisenbar to shout at all, so I knew the situation must be serious. "What was that thing?" "A gargoyle," he replied bluntly, before grabbing my arm and pulling me closer. He continued to scan around the room for more trouble. "These beasts search in packs, so there'll be more on the way. We must move quickly." Did you just say a gargoyle, sir?" I asked with a stunned voice. "They're hunters from the other world," Eisenbar continued, as he dragged me by the arm before quickly heading towards one of the archways. "They must have been sent here by the Dark King to collect a runaway who had escaped from his kingdom." "Dark King?" I asked with a screwed-up face. "I guess they must have thought that you were your Aunt Edna. I bet they can smell her scent on your clothes, you see. And your hair, or your skin perhaps. Once they track your aunt down, then she'll be returned back to the king, dead or alive." "What king are you talking about?" I questioned more angrily, because the professor wasn't explaining himself clearly at all, and now I was beginning to panic about Aunt Edna's safety too. "Oh, no, Eisenbar replied, shaking his head and then looked back at me. "I mustn't even think his name in this world." It suddenly struck me. Why did he keep talking as if there were other worlds beside the one we were standing in right now? Suddenly another gargoyle dropped through the gaping hole in the ceiling and crash-landed right behind us. It started to clamber to its feet, but Mr. Eisenbar was quick to react. "Head down that hallway, and it would lead you straight back to the minibus," he ordered. "Tell the driver not to wait for me, but to head straight back to the school." "Wait, sir," I gasped. "Are you sure?" "As soon as you get there, you must ride home and warn your Aunt Edna what has happened here. Do you understand me, boy?" But sir," I whimpered. I couldn't just leave him here to fight off the monster by himself, and I could see that more were coming through the roof as we spoke. "Go!" Eisenbar shouted in anger. I looked at Sir, and I could see by the focus in his eyes that he wouldn't be changing his mind this time, and so as the Professor wished, I raced towards the exit. I quickly looked back over my shoulder for only a moment to see 2 other creatures landing on the chamber floor, and instantly the pack of 3 surrounded him. Every little bit of me wanted to stop and turn back to help, but I was no fighter. I had to respect my teacher's wishes and get the heck out of there. Eisenbar began to attack all 3 monsters as they pounced. As he quickly slashed through each one, it turned into a large puddle of black goo. But I knew Sir couldn't fight them off forever, and feared that this would be the last time I saw him, and so I ran for my life and didn't look back.